Contract talks between the boss Erik ten Hag and Ineos are progressing and are believed to be at about 90%, but Erik ten Hag has made three interesting demands before he puts pen to that paper. Welcome to the United of Sport. My name is Webb. Here is a quick update on the eve of the official opening of the summer transfer window. We are just sorting a little thing concerning Erik ten Hag, and what we know that Ineos offered him a new contract, an extension by a further 2 years to make it three in total, including the 1 year that he has got left on his current contract. But Erik ten Hag is saying, I welcome the idea of wanting to stick with me, but you disrespected me enough. I'm not just going to bow down to everything you say, because right now the ball is in my court. It feels like if it's a power struggle between Ineos and Erik ten Hag has the power now. He's wielding the axe. He's the boss now. They should be listening to him now. Here are the three, or I would say four, interesting things according to the reports that are coming out now that Erik ten Hag has demanded of Ineos. One, he's saying, I'm not ceding transfer powers, because according to what we are getting, I remember I told you a couple of weeks ago, I shared with you the new rules that Ineos had put in place going forward of how things are going to happen now. Erik ten Hag was listening and saying, let me wait for them, go around, traverse the whole world looking for managers to replace me. If you zero down with me, I'm not taking some of these rules. Now, Erik ten Hag is saying, I'm not ceding transfer powers to no Jason Wilcox or Dan Ashworth. No, I am going to be involved in this transfer talk. Now, Ineos are believed to have been extremely, utterly shocked by how much power Erik ten Hag had when they came in at Manchester United. And that's why they were quick to say they are going to put in place a structure and sort of reduce the powers of the manager, which I think is a good thing, because I think power is extremely dangerous. That's why having too much power is bad, by the way. People want to have so much power, but the more power you have, the more trouble you bring for yourselves. That's why we've got so many dictators in Africa. Why? Because our constitutions give presidents a lot of power. Too much power to one individual is bad, and it's human. All of us. If I had so much power, it would be extremely dangerous. It's always good to have reasonable power and be checked by certain people who you would respect. So Erik ten Hag, for his own good, I think the powers should be reduced. Ineos were saying they were utterly shocked by how much power he had, and I think for me that was part of the thing. Perhaps is part of why we saw the problems he had, especially with players. So Erik ten Hag is saying, I'm not ceding all my powers. I want to be involved in transfers as a manager, and I think really this is something they can agree on, because they can reduce his powers but not make him completely useless. And I don't think that's what Ineos were saying. I think the manager has got to have a certain percentage of contribution when it comes to which players you sign. I've seen when I was watching the All or Nothing documentary with Arsenal, and how him and Mikel Arteta, that is, and Edu, the technical director, work, and the CEO. You see that they have a group, and the chairman, by the way, I think Josh Kroenke, the way they work, you see that yes, they know the structure, the boss, who the boss is on top, but the manager is involved in a way. It's not a one man show. So for me, I think they can also try and adopt the same structure. We saw the same with Omar Berada, Tik Bajreinstein, and Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. You always want to have that team. So I think for me, that can be passed. I think that's not something that we should stop Erik ten Hag from putting pen to that paper. Now, the other thing is that he's not going to have Jason Wilcox dictating his playing style. I mean, you came for me from Ajax because you were attracted to the playing style I had. How do you then say that you are now going to dictate which style I play? So Erik ten Hag is saying he's not taking that. I think, again, this is one as well to do with power, but also the fact that Erik ten Hag has been a manager for a long time. I mean, he has got all this experience. I think it's only right and normal that would feel like his style has been tested and proven. I think for me, the thing is to find ways of marrying his style into what the club wants to play, because without a doubt, we cannot play the Erik ten Hag style. We are Manchester United. We should play the Man United style. The Man United style cannot be dictated by Erik ten Hag, because you can't be sacked the next day. I think the Man United style should be dictated by the club, and Erik ten Hag should find ways of fitting into that style. So for me, this is important. The playing style shouldn't be a thing of the manager. It shouldn't be at the discretion of the manager. It should be the club's style. It's not even Jason Wilcox. It's not even Dan Ashworth. It's the institution. How does Manchester United want to play as a club? What's the identity? What's the DNA of Manchester United? It's not an individual thing. For me, when it gets to that, I think yes, he can have a contribution because he's the manager they are working with to set up the structure for the greater good of the club. So my thinking is they should find ways of coming together and come up with a style for the club. So this again for me is something I think as mature guys they should be able to sit down and compromise on and come up with something the best option for the club. The other thing, guys, we all need a boss like Erik Ten Hag. You remember how weeks ago when it was almost clear or obvious that Erik Ten Hag was going to be sacked, how Ineos had adamantly refused to extend the contract of Benny McCarthy that ends at the end of this month. Now, Erik Ten Hag, after being confirmed as manager, is saying, I want my man. I'm not letting go of any of my men. He's saying Benny McCarthy's contract should be extended. McCarthy's contract is as a first team, a coach, a strikers coach. Erik Ten Hag is saying, I need him extend his contract. So you thought if we thought he was going to leave, well, if you have a good boss who will route for you, you need a boss who will put his hand on the table and say, I'm not losing my man. I want my man. Give him his contract extension. Wow, what a boss that would be. So Benny McCarthy, according to what we get, reports that are coming through are saying that Benny McCarthy is needed by Erik Ten Hag, and he has told Ineos, before I put paper to that contract, give me assurance that we see that you're going to keep Benny McCarthy as part of my team. But honestly, I think Benny McCarthy, I think has had a fair impact, especially on Rasmus Højlund and of course the goal scoring. I mean, you cannot know what exactly he does in training, but it can't be that he's just there to warm or a ball boy or just bring balls. I think he has helped these strikers, Højlund especially, but also these Brunos who have played as false nines before and all to score goals. I think he has had an impact on them. So probably he deserves his stay. So by the way, just almost something I forgot to mention. There's something I read somewhere that apparently Jason Wilcox suggested to Erik Ten Hag to play Bruno Fernandes as a false nine in the FA Cup final. Take note of that. Technical guys we have in the house. He suggests, apparently, those are reports. We don't know whether that is true or not. But you see, sometimes these things eventually turn out to be true. But if that is so, then what a brain we have in the club. So the other thing, Erik Ten Hag, this we have known, I think, for a long time, is that Sancho to return must apologize. I think for this one, they all agree. I think they have agreed that Sancho won't return, I think. But Erik Ten Hag had to mention it, saying, if Sancho is going to return, if by any chance you want to sneak this boy back into Carrington, he has got to apologize to me. I think even publicly, probably. Erik Ten Hag demands an apology from Jadon Sancho. So those are the demands that Erik Ten Hag has put to Ineos before he puts pen to paper on that contract extension. Are they difficult? I don't think any of those will be difficult. I think the only tricky one could be the dictating playing style. But also by the time it was confirmed that Erik Ten Hag is staying, probably these are things they have spoken about, and it's a question of just tweaking around terms in the contract so that he moves on with his work. As we speak now, Erik Ten Hag is planning the preseason. It's what's on his mind. We are going to Norway, the US. I think we're playing Rosenborg as our next game 2 days after the Euro final. That's the next game we will play. The first game we will play in the preseason tour, and certainly our season is getting underway. Of course, tomorrow it's transfer business, and we expect Manchester United to move early. I think Erik Ten Hag is fired up. He has got the fire burning in him, and we should be moving early within Ineos to try and sell players and sign new ones. So the progress is there. I think everything that is coming out now about Erik Ten Hag and the contract is there. It might be important and stuff, but the most important thing is what's opening tomorrow. The transfer window is officially getting underway. We can't just be here dwelling on Erik Ten Hag. He has been sorted. He's the manager, and we have just got to believe in what he's demanding, what he wants to do, and of course try to create a happy atmosphere for him. Because again, we might be happy about him staying. If Ineos do not give him a happy environment to manage, to work in, it also won't do Man United so many favors with it. So that's where we are. as Manchester United. Give me your take on those conditions. Do you feel like those are conditions that would fail Erik ten Hag? Honestly, I don't think so. Now, there are some reports coming through from the same guys who are trying to convince us that Erik ten Hag will be sacked, or who are trying to push the agenda of Erik ten Hag being sacked, and they are revealing so many things. This is Time Sports saying Manchester United managerial candidates were left astounded by the low wages and unimpressed by the club's transfer budget before the decision was made to keep Erik ten Hag. Well, these are again, this is time sport. Now, who cares really? I think at this point we don't care. Do we care? Who was interested in what? Who wasn't interested in what? I don't think at this point we care. All we cared about was having clarity on the manager, and most people were for Erik ten Hag being given time, which has happened. I don't think so many people will be going, okay, what are the details of what happened? What happened between Sir Jim Ratcliffe when he met Thomas Tuchel? What happened with Mauricio Pochettino? I don't think so many of us will care about that. Honestly, I think for me, we are now moving forward, focusing on the transfer window that's opening tomorrow. And speaking of that, Mason Greenwood is still top of the talk for Man United, at least for those who are departing. Juventus are expected to have expressed a concrete interest in the 20-year-old, and United value him at about £42 million. So Juventus might be the next destination for Mason Greenwood. He's topping the trending list here at number one. I think every day, I think a Manchester United, either the club, a player, something with United has got to trend. And the manager in recent years, something has got to be trending on X, especially concerning Manchester United. This is how big this club is. We are united. And trust you me, I feel like after this whole, I don't know, I feel confident in what's going to happen in the summer. And of course, what will happen in the season will base a lot on what will happen in the summer. I feel extremely confident in this summer, and I feel like it's going to be one of those interesting ones where actually players will come to us with fire, with desire, wanting to prove something. And I feel like this summer is going to be a foundation for an exciting next season. And let's see which signings we make. Then we can go into the predictions of where United will finish. But I will tell you, I feel extremely positive about this summer and Manchester United. For me, the fire is burning. All hope is not lost. I think this rebuild, indeed, in 3 years, we will be delivering big silverware. Let's see how it will go. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will be back later giving you updates about Manchester United. Don't you move a muscle. We are powered by Uplift Causes, www.upliftcauses.org. Visit it and support the work we do in helping young people take charge of their mental health. Peace, love, and harmony.